Greetings. It's your brother Praniti Atamaray back here on Mother Nubia. Um, this week to talk about a topic, unfortunately, that continuously needs to be addressed. So I wanna dispel the myths on something. Unfortunately, in certain individuals' heads, it's still not registering. Certain people are still under the illusion that something or somebody is coming back to save them. Okay? And when I say that, let me be clear on what I mean. You have some people that believe that are embedded in religion. They believe in Christianity, that some fictitious character called Jesus is coming back for them and is coming to save them, and there's going to be some rapture and some eternal resurrection. You have some people of the Islamic faith that believe some Mahdi is coming to herald in the coming of the Messiah, and these individuals, almost identically to Christianity, believe that there's some paradise awaiting them. And then, unfortunately, even when you get into the extraterrestrial doctrine or information, you have a lot of people who are heavy into studying UFOs and extraterrestrial life forms. Now, this is a debatable topic on a facet of levels. Are there other intelligent life forms out there? Most definitely. Are there other planets that have been inhabited with and cultivated by other life forms? Most definitely. We can link the Mars culture, the Egyptian culture with civilization on Mars, with the face and pyramids that they have found on Mars, the red planet that they try to discreetly cover up over the many years. We do know there are a multitude, a level of different beings that exist throughout the galaxies. The problem that tends to come in is when we turn, because the UFO phenomenon, the extraterrestrial phenomenon, in certain circles, that now has also become a religion. What we have to get locked in our minds when dealing with the concept of extraterrestrials, these are beings that are connected to us by blood. They're no different than us, and we have a DNA connection to some of these intelligent life forms that we try again to separate from ourselves, as if there's some higher fraction of ourselves. That's where it becomes a problem. Now we're back to religion, because you have some people in those circles that actually believe that there's some spaceships, UFOs coming back for them. There's some mothership coming to scoop people up and take them to some paradise. And point blank, that is no different than a religious person believing that some fictitious character, Jesus, is coming back, is going to take them to a place called heaven. It's just another form of religion, because it activates the polarity and the energy of a religious mindset. So let's establish and let's get concrete in our heads that there is nothing or nobody coming back to save you. The only person that's going to be able to save you is you. Okay? I want to be clear on that, because that sounds sometimes cliche, because people claim to understand and understand what that statement means, but I don't really think they're crystal clear on what that really means. If you claim to be spiritually conscious and you claim to be a god, we hear this term, I'm a god, I don't follow nothing or nobody. Well, step one of that is understanding if you believe you're God, okay? And when that statement's said by a multitude of people, obviously that's going to be perceived on a multitude of levels, depending on who's hearing that statement, okay? Because first we have to establish, when you say that, what is God or deity to you? Now, the problem with that, some people believe that this higher consciousness called God resides outside of self. These are your spooked out religious people that are stuck in the realm of faith and belief. so they can't think outside of faith and belief. Then you have some that believe that the key to the answer of that question resides within themselves. One has to be able to activate the godlike forces of their DNA. They have to be able to activate their DNA to be able to understand and understand what that really means and raise themselves up to the realization that they are God and that they are deity. So this becomes a problem on a multitude of levels, because you literally have people waiting around for some type of spacecraft to come and save them. And unfortunately, that shit's not going to happen. So the question is, well, let's back up for a minute. Some people might say that maybe study that doctrine, might pull out some references. They might use the Nibiru thing. And you've had everybody from Zachariah Stitchin to Dr. Delbert Blair, may the elder rest in peace. You've even had Dr. York talk about this. You still have Farrakhan talking about some mothership that's going to come back and supposedly gather up all the true followers. This is another form of religion that keeps people mentally enslaved, because it still teaches the same precepts that the European has enforced through what we call European Christianity, Euro-Islam, and Euro-Judaism. It's the same thing. It's the same mindset. It's the same illogical way of thinking. Now, if you can't grasp that, let me break it down to you in kindergarten terms, because if you're still confused, then you're completely lost. If I'm teaching you in one aspect, let's say Christianity, I'm teaching you to worship a European God. I'm telling you that there was this fictitious character called Jesus. I've made this character a reality. I've taught to you that he is your soul's salvation, that he was crucified and died for your sins, and he died and resurrected and ascended into heaven, and now he's coming back for you. Okay? How does that differ from somebody that believes that at one point in time extraterrestrials inhabited this planet? They are responsible for our existence. All the knowledge that we've gotten, we received from them. Same concept with God ruling over human beings. And then these extraterrestrials left, and now they're going to come back for the so-called chosen or the elite. It's the same concept, but juggled up and given to you in a different perspective. And what it does is breeds laziness. It breeds unsuccessfulness. It teaches you to accept your condition. It teaches you to, if you're not on the level where you've obtained that balancement spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially, that's okay, because there's some pie in the sky waiting for you. There's some great cataclysmic and life-forming, changing event that's on the horizon that's gonna take you out of all that, and you all that stuff's gonna be cleared up, and you're gonna attain this great goal of what they call heaven or paradise. Now, these systems of indoctrination are enforced intentionally, and as I've said before, what people got to understand, even though to an extent physical slavery is over, and I say to an extent because if you really know what the fuck you're really talking about, slavery still exists in some countries. You can go to countries in the Middle East and parts of Africa where there's still human trafficking. There's still child slaves. There's child sex slaves, and there's adults that are in slavery and are subservient servants to certain subjects. So let's keep it real. We know slavery physically is not 100% abolished, which is a bunch of bullshit. But mental slavery is running rampant. It's strong. It's alive. It's living. It's well. Okay? And the problem is with this mentality, mindset, or way of thinking, it enslaves people mentally, because what it does is puts them in a system of control and fear. Because most of these, I don't care if it's the UFO extraterrestrial phenomenon, if it's any of the monotheistic religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, they all promise you this great outcome at the end. They all promise you that in the end, you're going to be saved if you follow all the rules, regulations, and all the precepts and things that you're supposed to do. You must follow them, because if you don't do as you're told, then fire and brimstone, etc., and all the negative things that come along with it, the concepts of hell, destruction, death, etc., follow it. That's, again, religion, another systematic form of mental slavery to keep people's minds locked into the emotion of fear. So we need to establish that. We need to get locked in our minds that there's nothing, I don't care who, what you believe in, and I stress the word believe, it can't be proven as a substantial reality. Now, as I said before, you've had many scholars and elders, for an example, cover the Nubia thing. There's a lot of people from different philosophies, doctrines, organizations, and cultures that believe that there is something coming back for them in the form of a spaceship. And some call this the great planet Nibiru. Now, some call this also Planet X. They say that this planet has, appeared, in its cycle of evolution in our orbit, and it's returning, and astronomers have spotted this object and say it is 3 to 4 times the size of the planet Earth, and it's calculated to enter our atmosphere. And some have correlated this event, this astronomy event, to the planet Nibiru, or the mothership. Excuse me. Sometimes I'll do these videos late at night, as I'm doing now, and get a little bit of the yawn, so I apologize for that. So they believe that there's something coming back for them. And it's just not a reality. And subconsciously, what that is telling you about those individuals, it shows the disturbed soul that they have within themselves, that they're not comfortable with the fact of understanding the power and the realization to really who and what they are, so they give their power up to something external outside themselves. And what I mean by that is by accepting that concept or belief, they are now surrendering their divinity to this illusion. Now, you can take anything and believe in it so hard and convince yourself that it's a reality. Now, does it mean it's a reality as a whole? No. Does it mean it's a reality to you personally? Yes. But sometimes what we're confirming as realities that are personal are just that, personal. But when it can't be confirmed on a wide scale level, then it's a personal reality. And that necessarily doesn't make it true, because the eventual outcome and the results you will see, for an example, if you believe that something or somebody is coming back for you, that reality will be confirmed. And you will see, because no matter what time frame or era we live in, we see this concept has been prominent all throughout the history of religion. People will go into various different texts, like the Sumerian text, where it mentions Nibiru, planet of the crossing. They'll go into Egyptian texts. They'll go into the writings of the Mayans and the Aztecs, and use events sometimes that are astronomically just charting the movement of the planets and the stars, and they'll correlate this to literal events, such as 2012. Let's talk about that real quick. People, I want to say around when 2009 rolled around, leading up to 2012, people were promoting it as they were looking in the writings and on the calendars and promoting it as some great cataclysmic event that was going to destroy our planet. There's a lot of motherfuckers believing that. Don't let people shit you and fool you. And a lot of them are still walking around now acting as if they never believed that. Myself, and I know many other people, I was telling people from day one, don't fall for that bullshit. That's not what the prophecies mean. That's not what it's actually talking about. they were correlating what they were reading in some of those writings as literally things that were going to happen physically, when basically when you go into the Dresden Codex of the Mayans, and when you go into the Mayan calendar, or you go into the Egyptian calendar, what it was basically stating in those writings was there would be a great shift in consciousness. Now, back on December 21st, 2012, according to the Gregorian calendar, the Earth's poles shifted. And with that shifting, it also shifted the magnetism in our body, which also caused a shift in mental and spiritual consciousness. So this great shift that they were leading up to, that they were saying that this magnetic pole shift, because of this shift, it would cause a great destruction. It would bring in all these cataclysmic events. What they weren't realizing was it was metaphorically saying the great destruction that would be taking place would be that incorrect mindset that people were carrying. That incorrect way of thinking would be completely annihilated and destroyed and replaced with a proper way of thinking, at least for those who are spiritually in tune and have been preparing themselves. And as I said before in the past, basically when that day happened, to some people it was just going to be a regular day. It wasn't going to mean shit to them because they didn't benefit from it in any shape, form, or fashion. But those that are spiritually in tune experienced something that day. They experienced that shift in consciousness, and they can reflect now from today, from back to December 21st, 2012, they can see the difference in how much they've spiritually grown from that point on till today, confirming that very fact. So what tends to happen is when people study these dogmas and these various different doctrines, they get caught up literally in the stories. They get caught up literally in the stories as if word verbatim as they're reading it, that this is actually what happened, and they're not grasping the full meaning of what these stories are trying to convey. And then this creates a problem. This starts all the chaos and the confusion, and out of that chaos and confusion, all your major monotheistic religions were birthed. So this is the mindset we have to destroy moving forward, because again, all I hear is people, when are things going to change? When are we going to see the Great Awakening? When is that? When I hear that constantly and regularly from people, what it confirms to me that those people are damn lazy. They're not doing any spiritual work themselves. They're not trying to bring about the change. They're sitting around waiting for the change. Okay? And when you're sitting around waiting, that breeds a lazy mentality. That's just like you got all these Christians, especially these melanated Christians, that are locked into the church, sitting around waiting, and they keep pumping in your head, Jesus is coming back, the rapture, this, blah, 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 and then they're dead, long and gone, and then their sons and daughters do it, they're dead, long and gone, and then it gets passed to their sons and daughters, etc., etc. It's a never-ending cycle of mental slavery. This is a problem, and change is never going to come about collectively as a whole until we stop thinking like that. Okay, we have to get out of our mindset and stop getting caught up in a lot of these stories literally, and understand collectively the symbolic meaning that they're trying to convey. Now, unfortunately, as I mentioned before in the past, let's be real. Even in higher levels of conscious information, the religious mentality has poisoned it. And as I've said before, it also seems when dealing with the occult, and again, that's just a Greek word that means hidden. Let's establish that so we can take the spookism out of that shit. What tends to happen is now the occult is kind of, you got people turning this into a religion. They're trying to promote it, and they're promoting systems of information from a religious perspective. You see a lot of external worshiping of things. This is incorrect. Okay, that needs to be addressed. That needs to be squashed and changed. Change can't come about first until the necessary way of thinking is installed. So then that change has an origin or a root. So it has to start spiritually and mentally first before that change can manifest physically. So you have people, again, that leave, again, as I said before, one way of thinking, and they come into what they believe in their mind are higher levels of spiritual consciousness, but they doing the same shit. They start taking the deities of various cultures, whether it's the Native American, the Egyptian deities, or the Orishi of West Africa, and now they start to worship these things externally. They start calling upon as if they're literal beings, just like one would do in religion when they're praying to saints, or they're praying to religious figures such as Mary or Jesus when it comes to Catholics. So now we're back to a system of worshiping, okay? Outside of ourselves. We're giving our energy. We're giving credence to external objects that have no validity and house no real powers or energies. And they'll do this too with it doesn't matter what culture is. Now we're back to that man worship. So if I leave one way of thinking and say I was a Christian, and then I come into the Yoruba, and I now start setting up in my shrine statues for the deity Shango and Obatala, etc. And then I start making physical prayers to these statues. What I'm doing psychologically is no different than what a Catholic Christian would do when they come into a church and genuflect before a statue, or genuflect in front of the statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary and recite the rosary. What we're back to again is man worship, giving over our powers and credence to something outside of ourselves. It's no fucking different. Now, some people have a hard time stomaching that because they say, no, I've given up the Europeans' slave master religion, but now you're groveling in front of Shango and Obatala statues and statues of Horus and statues of Ra, etc., and you're giving these physical prayers, because what you're doing subconsciously, whether you're aware of it or not, you are offering your energy, which you're calling prayers, to some fictitious force outside of yourself that doesn't exist. That's the whole point. That's what keeps this thing going. That's what keeps people mentally enslaved. And then people, on the flip note, want to turn around and say, man, when is there going to be some change coming? When is the Great Awakening going to happen? Well, the Great Awakening's been happening. Where the fuck you been? You understand? The reason why you're not seeing this Great Awakening, or you might be saying, Beniti, what the hell are you talking about? Is because you're mentally asleep. And you're not seeing it now because that pineal gland is calcified. It's not vibrating on its correct frequency. Your heart chakra and your throat chakra is not vibrating on the correct frequency where you can perceive and express yourself in a correct and conducive nature that's in accordance to what's going on a vibrational and frequency level with your DNA. Okay? That's the whole point. Now, one way to dispel these myths, whether you believe in any of those ideologies, whether it's the extraterrestrial phenomenon, okay, whether it's the religious phenomenon, once you're able to unlock your DNA connection to your ancestors, and you're able to communicate with those beings who are connected to you by blood, you'll start to be communicating. You will have broken that barrier. You will have opened up a porthole in a dimension to a whole nother existence. And now you will find out the reality is that these beings that you communicate, who are connected to you by your DNA and blood, they are your soul salvation. They are your ticket, for lack of a better word. They are the tool that you will be able to utilize to help you understand what this shit is really all about. Okay, it will confirm that all these concepts of something or somebody coming back to save you is a myth. It can be debunked. It's not real. Okay? Now, the change starts to manifest when you really start to accept within yourself that that's just not a reality. That's not real. You understand? You got to really accept it. You can't just be professing it with the tongue. Because once the subconscious mind registers it, what you're doing now is breaking the chains of mental slavery.
And now you pass that way of thinking on, per se, to your children. You understand? So now you're producing a seed that's not infected with that mindset. Okay, and now you're breaking that chain gradually of mental slavery. So whether it's the UFO phenomenon, okay, whether you're a black Hebrew Israelite, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, whatever you want to call yourself, you all fall into that category because you believe that there's something or somebody coming to bring you salvation. And all you need to do is just be good and don't worry. It's going to happen. But most of you people don't realize, okay, let's say actually more than most people, what they fail to realize is, okay, how easy it is to literally keep people in a box and control them. Okay, it's simple. Because if I tell you, for an example, okay, this area right here, right in front of me, if you stay within this area right here, okay, but don't venture outside of it, if you stay here and do what you're told, then you have a great reward in the end for you. So now what that subliminally does is create a mindset of fear. All right, let me give you another correlation. When you read the stupid, idiotic story of Adam and Eve in the garden, this is gotta be one of the most dumbest fucking stories I've ever heard. And the story goes where God placed Adam and Eve in the garden and gave them everything in the Garden of Eden, everything, except the tree of life, not to eat from the tree of life. Now let me ask you, everybody watching this show, a very simple question. That's like taking a kid, bringing them into a room, okay, taking two kids and putting a box that's on the table in the center of the room and saying, look, you kids can touch everything in this room and play with everything in this room, but the only thing you can't touch that you're forbidden to touch is that box on the center of the table. Now, as soon as I walk out of the room, if I tell these kids that, what do you think psychologically? What do you think is the first thing they're going to want to go for to touch? Because on one hand, I'm telling you don't fuck with it, but on the other hand, I planted the seed to spark the thought and the interest and the curiosity to, on the same token, to go ahead and touch it. I'm doing this simultaneously. Because on one hand, I'm doing this, I'm not separating it as I'm doing it. On one hand, that statement vibrates a multitude of thoughts. It's telling you on one thought process, you're saying not to touch it. And then when I follow that up with the statement, that you could touch everything but that one, now a certain other energy process is going to start manifesting from the mind when that curiosity kicks in. And I'm not able to discipline myself because I want to open that box up to really see what's in it. This is what religion does. You understand? It creates the illusion that you have free will, as I said before, but then it follows it up with all these rules, regulations, and restrictions that keep you in mental slavery. So let's get that locked in our minds. Okay? There is nothing. I don't give a shit what anybody tells you. And only way people can confirm it for you is something that they've read in a book. Okay? And I'm talking about, again, those people that believe that something's coming back for them. I don't care if it's Jesus, it's Allah, it's Yahweh, it's the Greys, the Reptilians, the Meldekians. Shams are going to be released from the Beru to scoop up its loyal followers. And Satan, none of that shit is a reality. It's another scapegoat that we use to not take the full responsibilities for ourselves and our actions. Because some people have a hard time grasping. It's like, damn, well, what do you mean? I'm in control. I got the power, and I'm the deity, and I'm the one that can manifest my own salvation. People can't grasp that because they sell themselves short. They don't know how to put that into perspective. Well, it's not something you can just read and put it into perspective. It's something you have to gain experience in, and by living that experience, okay, it's something you manifest the realization of once you live that experience. Okay, that's what this is all about. So, long story short, if you accept the fact that something or somebody's coming for you, then you're mentally fucking dead. Period. You're mentally fucking dead, and you're under the system of mental slavery. Okay, I don't care how you sugarcoat it. I don't care how you want to bag it up, package it, and sell it. Okay, I don't care how you want to correlate it. Okay, if you're not doing the magical workings yourself and manifesting the change yourself, you're mentally dead. There's no other way to describe it. There's no other way to confirm it. So I wanted to break the myth and dispel that, because unfortunately here we are in 2016, and this mindset is still infecting melanated people all across the globe. They just can't get out of that slave mentality mindset. It's just fucking poisoning. They don't wanna understand that this thing that we call deity is just a higher manifestation of our higher consciousness. That's it. But those that had set out and had their own plan, they used this information to twist it, to control, and set up an environment that they could hide behind to do their devilishment. Okay? And this would be your hierarchy and your religious establishments, such as the Catholic Church, who we know, it's a whole nother story, who we basically know grafted their religion on a combination of Greek and Roman precepts and mixed in with various information they stole from the library of Alexandria. Remember that. There was a lot of information taken during that period and laid claim to by the Greeks, etc., and that information was used against us to create, again, what we call modern day religion and these systems of indoctrination. So, long story short, I think we're going to stop there. We're going to leave it there. There is nothing or nobody coming back for you. There's nothing coming to save you. You need to get your shit together and get motivated and do your own work. And if you're looking for that savior and you're looking for that thing that's coming back for you, look no further than in the mirror and really go deep into meditation and really ask and petition the cosmic to make this clear to you and understand it and what this really means, so you'll know how to put it into perspective. All right. Next week class we will post, obviously. Next Saturday I will put up the class after it's done that I will be doing this Saturday coming up, February 27th at 7:30 p.m. Sophia's Garden of Ma'at. I will be doing a live lecture there. The admission is free. There is no charge. I will be out there with a gang of books for sale. There will be food vendors and other things there for you to purchase for your spirituality. So we just ask that you support the vendors so we can get compensated for our time. So there's no admission, though. We never charge to get in. So if you're in the South Florida area, and you're going to be anywhere near Miami, or if you're interested in coming from out of town, feel free to attend. We'd love to see you there. So that will be next week's class that I will post up on the 27th. It'll be the live lecture from Sophia's Garden of Ma'at. Don't forget to tune in to our radio show this Thursday night. And just to make an announcement for those of you that do watch the show, we will be starting 1 hour early this Thursday. We will be starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me say that again, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to have Dr. Phil Valentine on the show this Thursday night, talking some alchemy, metaphysics, and some African history. Don't miss that show. We had a great show last week with Dr. Edward Bruce Bynum, who was here this past Thursday night talking about melanin serpent power and the luminous matrix reality. It was a great show. He went in deep on the Kundalini energy, gave a lot of information and practical techniques to work with that. We're going to have him back on the show on March 31st, so he'll be back at the end of next month. We'll see him in about 6-7 weeks. But definitely don't miss this upcoming show again. Waking the Universal Minds radio show this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Special start time, 1 hour early just for this Thursday only. Hope to see you guys all there. Appreciate everybody tuning in to the Mother Nubia channel, watching these videos. Appreciate all the positive feedback for all of you that are really absorbing this information and really putting it into perspective. I get a lot of emails, with a lot of comments that make me feel good by saying stuff like, this information has motivated me. This information has motivated me to start doing for self. It has created change in my life. That's the greatest thing that one can hear, because then it means what the purpose of what we're doing here is to share this information. And I also get emails, and I'll tell you why. That's why you'll notice on all my videos I disable the comments, because I'm not going to get into back and forth debate bullshit, because that's not the reason why I do these videos, because I want to show other individuals out there in a debate that I know more than them, and let's go back and forth so I can impress you with how much I know. Fuck that. I don't do it for that. I do it simply to put the information out there, and it's your job to take the information and utilize it. If so, to better yourself, and if you don't use it, that's your business. That's not my concern. Now, having said that, I will sit here and make it clear that I have no qualms, and I'm 100% confident in debating anybody on anything. It's just at this point in my life, I did that for so many years. I don't waste my energy on that shit no more, because it's not important. Occasionally, you got to open a can of whoop ass on somebody, and that happens here and there. But I can tend to do that to the point where it hurts your motherfucking feelings. And I've watched people literally break down into tears. You can listen to some of the shows. There was a Muslim sister that came on the show. And if you listen to it, it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And you'll watch how that changed dramatically. So by all means, let me make it clear. I want to present myself, as being weak, because sometimes people, they mistake your kindness for weakness, because I'm confident I can hold my own and then some in a debate with any motherfucker, especially you over intellectualize people that want to give lectures on Egypt and all that shit. Tear that shit up in a minute. But I just feel like at this point where we are spiritually, we don't really have time for that shit. It's a waste of time. So information just needs to be put out there. People need to absorb it, and people need to take it and put it into practice and utilize it for themselves. So it's always a great feeling to get feedback when people say stuff like that, and then it just confirms the job that I am doing and that we do on the radio show. It's having an effect, and it works on the flip side. Even if some of the stuff that I teach and say gets you pissed off and angry, I've still done my job, because at least I've gotten you to think. Because when you're angry, there's something that triggered that emotion and that thought. Because if I say something that doesn't line up with your ideology, at least I got you to compare what I said to what you believe or what you think is truth. And then when it doesn't line up, now you want to get pissed, and then you take it to a different perspective. So I've still done my job, even if it pisses you off, because I've sparked the intellect and I've gotten you to think. But one thing I won't do is waste my time and energy on knuckleheads. So the few minimal mail that I do get, that's from a bunch of stupid ass knuckleheads. Like, for an example, I had one clown, it's just funny, about 4 weeks ago, when I must have been talking about something in my videos about Osiris and that it's archetype energy, and not to take it literally. Some clown sends me an email. This is fucking hilarious. And the email says, I am Osiris and I can prove it. Go to my YouTube page. Man, I didn't even waste my motherfucking time. I simply sent him an email back, said, look, not interested. I don't give a fuck who you think you are. That's personal. I'm not interested in going to your page. And the very fact that you wasted the energy to go out of your way means you've been studying these videos in depth. And now, because you got a problem with self, because some of the stuff you heard maybe squashed your way of thinking of what you thought was a reality. So now you need to go to the point where you want to prove that you're literally Osiris is a fucking joke to me. So I don't even waste my time with stupid shit like that. So the minimal, I get a few of those here and there, and I just completely fucking ignore them, and just send them some shit back, lose my email. And if you don't like, it's simple. If you don't like what I teach on this show and on this channel, simply just turn the motherfucking computer off. That's it. Nobody's forcing you to watch this. Go to another channel where you can hear information that's going to feed your ego and make you feel good. Go to Sonetta TV and Black News and all that shit where you can get preached to about how great you were back in ancient Egypt, and that's going to make your ego feel good, and then you can walk away from it all with your chest out how fucking great you are, but then you can't even reach into your goddamn pocket and pull out $10. So I mean, if that's what you want, then go to those channels. This channel and the Awakening Universal Mind show that we do, we're not interested in making you feel good, and sometimes the things you're going to hear may not be pleasant. But again, this is not about one individual. It's not about me. It's not about you watching this. It's about all of it. And that's the purpose of this. But anyway, for those that are going to be at the lecture this Saturday night, February 27th, 7:30 p.m., Sophia's Garden at, definitely see you guys out there. Again, if anybody watching this wants information on the event, how to get there, etc., you can email me at khnum19@gmail.com. This is your brother Beniti Amun Ray signing out, saying Hotep, peace, Assalamu Hammy and bacon, and all that good shit. We'll see you on the next one.